Shalom Aleichem Rabotai, hoping everyone had a wonderful and meaningful Yom HaKippurim, and the Mishnah Yomi is continuing now, the day after Yom Kippur, in the fourth parak. We're starting off the fourth parak of Challah. Shtei noshim, sha'asu shnei kobin. Two women making two kav, meaning, now it's lav dafka women, anyone is allowed to knead dough, and they're making two kav in the sense of each one is making one kav. They each own the flour of one kav, and as we recall, the shear of challah is 1.25 kav, 5/4 of a kav, or 5 revayim. A reva is a quarter kav. So they're making these doughs together in the same kitchen. V'nagu ze b'zeh, and they touch one another. And this is even a significant touching, even if they're touching in a sense where they'd be kind of stuck together and you'd have those like sticky dough lines if you separated them. And the Bartanura adds, afilu loshu shnei kavin gechad. Even if they're mamish kneading this dough together, they're using one big bowl to knead the dough, and then later on they're going to be machalek, they're going to separate it out later. The same din applies. Afilu hem min echad, even the same species of grain, paturin, they're patur from challah. Why? Because each one would own half of the dough, even if it's all kneaded together, and this one kav dough per person does not have the requisite shear of 1.25 kav. So it's pater from challah, even though lamaisa, they're making two kav together. As a quick aside, Jewish law, halacha, is based on the assumption, the natural order that people have private property, and one person owns their flour, their dough, the other person owns their dough, and this applies even in the Messianic age. There's a pasuk in the fourth parak of Micha. Fourth parak of Micha talks about the Messianic age, and it says that everyone will sit under his own geffen, in his own vineyard. He'll have his own private property still, and no one will try to take it from him, even in the Messianic age. So this halacha is also based on the concept of, each person owns their own kav of flour, and we don't say just because individuals are mixing their kavim together to make it easier to make one big dough and then separate later, we don't say that makes it chayiv and challah, because the ownership of an individual still belongs to just that individual. Mishnah continues, Bizman shem shel isha ochat, when it's one woman making two separate doughs, but they're a kav each, if it's min b'mino, if they're both the same species, chayiv. Then if they're touching each other, they're, sticking together a bit, they'd be chayiv to separate challah, even though lamaisa, she's trying to make two little challahs instead of one big roll. Shelo b'mino, if it's not the same min, pater. Now Mishnah Beis is going to explain what we mean by the same min. Ezehu min b'mino, what is one species with the same species? Hachitin einan mitztarfot imakol. So wheat doesn't combine with everything, ela imakusmin, only with spelt. Spelt is considered a subspecies of wheat, like a variation of wheat. Now, it's important to remember this halacha is only if you have two separate doughs, they happen to be touching, when do they join up for challah? We learned in the first Mishnah, if you make a mixed dough, you make the dough with one kav of wheat and one kav of barley, and it's all the same big dough, mamish, mixed together in the same kneading bowl, for sure that's chayav. For sure you have to separate challah on that. This is talking about you had two separate doughs, you had like one kav of wheat next to one kav of barley, talking about if that's chayav. According to the Mishnah, that would not be, because barley is not a min with wheat, only spelt is. The Mishnah continues, hasa'urin, the barley, mitztarfot imakol, that does join up with everything, chutz min achitin, but not wheat. So barley, a kav of barley would combine if it's touching a kav of spelt or rye or oats. So recall the 5 major grains are wheat, barley, spelt, rye, and oats. So barley could be combined with spelt, rye, and oats, but not wheat. Wheat can combine with spelt, but not barley, rye, or oats. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Omer, she'ara minim mitztarfin zeh b'zeh. He says the other species, the subspecies, do combine with one another. So meaning the rye and the spelt and the oats would all, if they're touching, you had one kav of oats and one kav of spelt, and they're next to each other touching, then it becomes chayav in challah. Shkoyach Rabosai.